Well, I'll show you this. That's what it's seen. Right, so that gives you a good idea. And this is seeing, this is like, that's getting you anyway, so I don't mind if this doesn't get you. But like, it has a wide lens anyway. Yeah, you're well within. Yeah, well. Yeah, perfect.
Everybody, let's come on back. You've had your tea and your scones and your fruit. Do you want to come on back? You can sit, you can stand. Is everybody back in the room? So thank you, Anne-Marie, so much for putting on this fantastic day, for having beautiful sunshine and everything else. So, how you doing there, Laura? So, that was all good stuff, huh? Right. So, great speakers today, so much information. I hope that we are feeling more empowered and all that. So, who the heck am I? I'm Keri Denney. I'm from Kildare, not from Kildare. You guys know that, right? I don't sound like it. That's all right. My mother's from Mullingar, and I grew up in California, and then a few years ago moved here to Ireland just to change the scenery, I guess. So navigating all of these services and things and stuff to bring my teenager up to get all the support that he needs. So thank you so much for all of this today. So I've been a massage therapist for many, many years, and I also work with essential oils, and most recently became a Zumba fitness instructor. So who's heard of Zumba? Yay! So Zumba is for all and by all, so you don't need any special skills to do it, which is awesome. You don't need any special equipment to do it, which is awesome. And it's just a matter of getting up and moving your body. So as we were talking about, connecting all these things, right? Your brain-body connection. So you see how you feel in your body, and that helps your mental health. On the panel, they were talking about getting out every day, doing some sort of exercise. You know, football isn't for everybody, running isn't for everybody, lifting weights isn't for everybody. So Zumba is a great way to get up and moving. We have great music, and you know, you just do it how you're comfortable doing it. So if you don't get the feet, if you don't get the arms, it's okay, because next week you will. The week after that, you will put it together. So that's the thing that I love about Zumba. So, would you guys like to get up and move with me? I know that you're weighed down now with some scones and things, but it's all very like follow the leader, monkey see, monkey do. So I'll put on the music and we'll just move a bit. And then if you would like to talk to me about essential oils and how they can help you in your life, I have a few things with me today that you could try. I, of course, put them on me before I speak, move, dance. I wouldn't be able to do Zumba without having my essential oils because they help reduce inflammation in my body, my aches and pains, things like that. So oils go on before class, oils go on after class. So awesome. I'm gonna put on some music and we'll move, okay? Yay!
again. Our next speaker is Tessa Halliwell, who, now, I don't have to try and say this, cognitive behavioural psychologist helping those with autism, dyslexia, dyscalculia to learn the benefits of the Davis program. Now, I haven't said that right, she's going to explain to you now in a second. Tessa.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Have I got the mic as well? Yeah. Okay, can you hear me now? Is that good? All right. Yes, so, well, I get my breath back. But that was great, thank you. My name is Tessa Halliwell. I have a background in psychology. I have a degree, an MA in education. But my real learning started when I discovered I was a parent of neurodivergent children. I have one who is dyslexic and I have one who's on the spectrum. And it was in my search to find something that would enable them to fulfill the potential that I knew that they had, that was being squashed and inhibited at school, that I came across the Davis programs. And as a result, I changed my career completely, and 20 years ago I trained to be a Davis facilitator, and that's what I've been doing ever since. So it is with great pleasure that I have the opportunity, thank you Anne-Marie, for organising this conference so that I can talk to you a little bit about this particular Davis programme. Anne-Marie spoke to you earlier about his dyslexia programme, and share with you the content and a little of the logic behind how and why it works. Have I pointed at anything? No? Okay. This one.
Sorry.
So, perhaps some of you will recognise these individuals. They are, or at least they identify as being autistic, and some of you may know a little of their gifts and talents. We at Davis recognise that many of these gifts and talents are highly important to our society. Autism is a natural part of human variation, and it's been around since the beginning of mankind. And the gifts that these autistic individuals have, their attention to detail, their persistence of thought, their logic, their systemising, their ability to visualise, have all contributed to many major advances, right from the use of Stone Age tools through to social media and AI today. So we absolutely honour and value autism. This programme is not about changing who they are, but rather developing who they are. But we do recognise that there are many difficulties associated with autistic individuals, and these have been identified by the deficit model that is used to diagnose autism. Those of you that live and work with autistic individuals will no doubt recognise many of the behaviours that correlate with these two characteristics. I can give you a couple of examples of some individuals that I have come across recently. The first shows a misunderstanding in the social interactions. He is a highly intelligent man who wants to become a doctor. He has a first-class degree in biophysics. He was accepted onto a course as a mature student. His tutor consultant invited him and 4 other tutees into his office at the beginning of term to welcome them and said, "Please call me by my first name. So delighted that you have decided to join the medical profession. I look forward to seeing you in the hospital ward in a couple of weeks' time." 3 weeks later, this young man was reprimanded for unprofessional behaviour. What had he done? He'd called the consultant by his first name on the ward, in front of the patient, in front of nurses, in front of the other student doctors. Misunderstood the context in which that social interaction had to take place. It was only meant to be allowed in the office of the consultant. No fault of the autistic individual. Didn't understand. My second example is of a 6-year-old. His expressive language is very poor. His restrictive behaviours affect the whole family. He insists on wearing exactly the same clothes as his older brother and wants to do the same activities. He will have a complete meltdown if a different route to school is taken. He will only eat one kind of pizza, cheese and tomato, and he will only drink out of the same plastic cup that he had when he was a toddler. So is there a need to find a way to allow these individuals to learn to know about themselves and about the world around them? Yes, there is. A way that does not limit what they can do or what they can be, but most importantly, it allows them to understand others and develop relationships that are both beneficial and mutually rewarding. Ron Davis is 81 years old now. He knows from personal experience the gifts and challenges of autism. He was actually born before the term autism was recognised. He was identified as a Canner's baby. He was labelled mentally retarded, uneducatable, he was non-verbal, and he was given an IQ of 45. And yet, by the time he was in his late teens, his IQ had developed to 169. He was very good at maths. He went on to become an engineer. He went on to get married, have children, he's still married. And he has created many businesses and he's become a responsible member of society. The question is, how did that happen? The answer lies in the program that he created to enable and empower autistic individuals that were born like him to be able to develop to their fullest potential. This program is a roadmap for learning, should they wish to choose to follow it. In order to explain the logic, I want to talk a little bit about what happens usually during childhood development. There are 3 very broad phases: individuation, identity development, and then social integration. The first occurs during the first 2 years of life. It is when that baby becomes that toddler who recognises that they are a somebody, who has their own mind, their own emotions, and their own physical self. It starts right from the time they are born, when they begin to coordinate all the sensory information to themselves so that they can identify they are looking at the world from a particular place. They learn to coordinate their body and begin to move out and explore it. They use and integrate that sensory information to recognise objects that are separate from them. The next phase that happens is that they become aware of their mind and their thoughts. And we can see that when they start looking for that ball that they know exists but has just gone out of sight. And finally, this phase finishes at that stage that we call the terrible twos, when very much they have identified what they want and recognise that it might be different from the wants of others. Once they know that they are a self, that they are a somebody, this next phase of identity development is about coming as someone. They begin to recognise what they like, what they don't like, and every experience they have, because they know they have their own feelings, their own thoughts, their own body, becomes much more significant. When they start to go climbing or playing on the swing, they are aware of what they're thinking, of what they're feeling, of what their body is doing. And they start to begin to categorise these experiences into likes and don't likes. I like ice cream, I like playing with dogs. I am a person who doesn't like broccoli. Every experience they have, they add and then integrate into their identity about what kind of person they are. As that grows and develops, they are then able, and they begin to, recognise what others like and don't like. Who can do the same thing that I can do? Who also likes ice cream? Oh, who also likes playing with dogs? And these are the beginnings of social integration, of relationships being built, of friendships being built. But for whatever reason, we know that this flow doesn't seem to happen for autistic individuals. Something happens that disrupts, interrupts, delays some of these processes. We know that because the very end point, the social integration, is one of those characteristics that is what gets an autistic person diagnosed as. It would seem sensible and logical to start there. And there are many autistic social skills programs out there. But the logic that we have is, let's look at the previous stage. What behaviours are going on as the child is developing and trying to make sense of the world that indicate that maybe there is something that is not quite working for them there. And if they're not able to make sense of the world, those experiences that might otherwise be significant for them isn't making sense. So let's look at perhaps what is happening in that very first stage of individuation. This fits very much with Ron's own personal experience. For him, he says, being autistic is like being everything and nothing at the same time. He had no awareness of his body for a long time. He had no memory, no awareness of his thoughts. His experience of life, his existence, was simply as the urge to survive. So the behaviours that others around saw were very much like a newborn. They were very reflexive, reactive, impulsive. There was no conscious thought in the things that he did. So, in order to begin truly being able to make sense of the world, we need to be able to connect and integrate these three ways that we have of experiencing our existence. At the moment, you are all sat in this hall, you are aware of all three parts. You are aware of your body as it is touching the seat. You are aware of the table. That's separate from you, from your body. You are aware of where you are in relation to the walls of this room. You are aware of your own thoughts that may or may not be the same as the thoughts of the person sat next to you. Equally, how you are feeling. What is your emotional state? What is your urge? Is there anybody here desperate to go to the loo? But at any one moment in time, you have a conscious awareness of each of these three worlds. Ron was not individuated. He was unindividuated. So what we need to do is to find a way to allow an autistic individual to have conscious control and awareness of these three parts. That will bring them to individuation. That will mean that any experience that they have, they will be able to take full information in and categorise it through what their body is doing, what they are feeling, and what they are thinking about. Temporarily, we can each disconnect from these worlds. Just think about it. If you have a very strong emotion, your total awareness, perhaps if you're really excited, somebody's given you some wonderful information, you're really excited. In that moment, you express that emotion, you stand up and whoops, the glass of water is knocked over. You have lost connection with what your body is doing. All you are experiencing is that emotion. Or perhaps you might be absolutely terrified. You would be frozen. You wouldn't be able to think what to do. You've disconnected. What happens if you get lost in your thought world, in your mind? Daydreaming. We've already heard how dyslexics daydream. If you daydream, fantasize, anything can happen in your world. There is no time in your world. You can fly to the moon and back in seconds. There is no connection with the reality of the physical world. And of course, the obvious one for all our young people is getting lost in that virtual world of gaming, social media. It's all part of that thought world. Spend hours, lose awareness of how stiff their bodies got, how tired their eyes are, have they eaten, have they had anything to drink. So we need to find a way of bringing those three worlds together to have awareness. If not, development can be unbalanced. You can have the body of a 15-year-old. You can have the intellectual mind of a PhD student in their mid-20s. You can have the emotional development of a 9-year-old. And sometimes that's what we see in autistic individuals. So the first step is to try and provide the opportunity for the individual to become individuated, to be able to experience those three worlds at any one moment in time, to bring about that sense of self, that they are a me with their own mind, their own body, their own emotions. And what Ron has found is that, very simply, he gets them to listen to a repetitive sound that is being recorded so that it is heard in a consistent place. And this acts as a reference point for all the sensory information that comes into the individual's body and into the individual's mind. It acts almost like a snap of the fingers. Oh, they're in the now. They're in this place. And therefore the sound or the light is referenced. It's over there. So many autistic individuals that we know can get disorientated or can get lost in and overwhelmed by sensory information. And that's very often because they can't put themselves in a relative position to what they are perceiving. Listening to that sound, giving them the opportunity for that moment of accurate perception enables them to move towards that individuation. And then, of course, once that happens, any self-regulation tools that are introduced, so much more effective. Relaxation. To relax, you need to be aware of your body. You need to consciously be able to change how you are feeling. To know when you are focused, to know when you are in the moment. That comes with a feeling as well as a thought. Being able to regulate how intensely you are feeling. You can't do that unless you have that conscious awareness of those three parts. So we start with individuation, then self-regulation tools become so much easier. And then, of course, they're in a place to be able to really begin to develop an awareness of who they are, what they like, what they don't like, that is not just based on the reflexes to do with survival. It's about being able for them to be able to have a choice. We're not about trying to take away any identity that the autistic individual has started to develop. We just want it to develop and to grow and to build on it. And we know that for some, many of the experiences that they have are just confusing and overwhelming. They have been trying very much to make associations, to find patterns, but they may not necessarily be ones that are useful or that will work for them. Not all bearded men are scary, and not all cups have to be plastic. So what this program does is it gives them a different way of actually categorizing and making sense of the experiences that they have. He has created and structured a series of concepts or ideas that can be used within any situation to make sense of it. These identity development concepts, there's about 30 of them in this particular part of the program. Each has its own Davis definition, and each concept supports the next one that is done in sequence. The first concept that is done is change. The last concept is responsibility. Within responsibility, there is the concept of change. Any situation, from flying an aeroplane, to writing an essay, to cleaning teeth, to making a cup of tea, there is change, there is responsibility. Change. Something becoming something else. Can you see it? Responsibility. Having the motivation and ability to control. Can you see it? Somebody is responsible there for making that cup of tea. They had to know how to make the cup of tea before they took on that responsibility. And they had to want to make the cup of tea. And then they had to decide, well, actually, am I going to cause that change or not? That's where the control comes in. There's 4 examples of 4 others. Consequence is in there. Something happens because of something else. We have a cup of tea because somebody poured hot water in it. Time. Time is the measurement of change in relation to a standard. The change no cup of tea to having a cup of tea, measured with time. I don't know, a few seconds there. Knowledge, yeah, the experience of actually having been able to make a cup of tea in the past means you can then be responsible for it in the future. Emotion, how much did you want that cup of tea? What was the desire there? Or maybe the emotion that was driving you was causing pleasure for somebody else. So, how the programme works at this stage is we talk about the concepts, we identify them in some everyday events that we go out and experience together. Then we make the model of the concept in plasticine or clay. The reason that we do that is it's fun, it's creative. It also means that if the individual has produced this model, it has come from their thoughts. So we can see as facilitators what their understanding is of the particular concept. When they have mastered the understanding, then it is essential that they go out and experience life and explore for themselves these concepts in what they do. Because what that means is they are adding those experiences to the filing cabinet. And so things that were confusing or scary are not confusing or scary anymore. That new experiences can be easily integrated and added to who they are. Once they have mastered that concept of responsibility, then we're looking at the final stage of the programme. This is not about learning social skills. This is not about role play. This is not about rote learning behaviours that you need to do in a cafe as opposed to a funeral, as opposed to a party. This part of the programme is about giving them the independence to form opinions for themselves on what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, for themselves as well as for the individual that they are interacting with. We start by giving them an awareness and an understanding that another is an individual that is separate from them. Again, so many of our autistic individuals we find are so empathetic that part of their overwhelm in a social situation is they are connected with everybody else that is in that situation. That the energy and emotions of others they feel as their own and do not recognise that they are the emotions of others that are separate from their own emotions. That is quite a profound concept for many autistic individuals to recognise. Once they have understood that and become aware of that, then the relationship categories, there are 4 types. And it is within those relationship categories that they have an understanding of what behaviours are appropriate or not, based on the social identity of the person that they are interacting with. Where they recognise that they are in a situation where they are with their best friend at home, that the identity of that individual is as their own identity is, that they are interacting just as one person is with another, then they have the freedom to express the widest range of behaviours and emotions. If, however, you're in a different situation and you are a student, or you are still you, but the person you are interacting with is a consultant, he's also an individual, but his social identity in that moment is he is a consultant. he's not your tutor, then you can recognise that your behaviours will need to be limited in a different way. I'm going to let you listen to a short piece by an autistic individual who's been through the programme. Before the programme, she was severely depressed, she was living at home, she was not functioning as a young woman ought to function. She had no job, she had no friends, she was severely depressed.
A lot more confident in interactions, I feel calmer, I can focus more on now. I'm more aware of my own thoughts and emotions as well as those of the other person. I notice my own responses as separate from the responses of another, and as a result I'm less anxious to always please. I don't automatically give authority over to the other person, so I can be more authentic in interactions.
But it's not just anecdotal evidence. Jacinta Ryan, who actually came across Davis because she was also searching for a solution for some of the clients that she has. She's actually a clinical psychologist. She worked for 7 years in a psychiatric inpatient, outpatient clinic in Melbourne before she set up her own independent therapy unit. She's a specialist in social anxiety, OCD, mood disorders, and general anxiety. The clients that she first tried out the Davis methods and these concepts with were a neurodivergent group who were really not responding to many of the CBT and traditional methods that she was using. She was so impressed with the clinical significant changes that occurred that she was able to write up and present a case study just in May, 2 years ago, 18 months ago in Brisbane. And that led her to set up a study with 14 adult autistics and did a much more strict, if you like, kind of protocol with them. They self-assess themselves on questionnaires, pre-program, post-program, a year post-program. And the key factors that they found were clinically and statistically significant was with self-regulation, improved dramatically, self-concept, improved dramatically, social anxiety, reduced dramatically, and their quality of life, as assessed by themselves, improved dramatically. This supports much, again, of the anecdotal evidence that we have found in the clients that we have worked with across the world. It's not just English speaking, where Davis Autism Programme has been used in different countries, Russia, the Middle East, China. We get similar results. And finally, we internally, with those that wish to participate, have been monitoring changes using questionnaires. We've used the autism quotient and the social communication disorder checklist. We pre-test, immediately post-test, and 6 months test. And these results have been analysed independently and shown to be statistically significant. The arrow at the side there, for those of you that know something about the autism quotient, is the cut-off for screening for autism. If you're above that arrow, you are autistic. If you're below the arrow, then it's unlikely at your autistic characteristics, and please bear in mind this is assessing the deficits of autism, so those social interaction, those restricted and repetitive behaviour type characteristics, they get very much reduced. So, if you are interested in finding out more about the Davis Autism approach, then please have a look at this website. You will find a list of all Davis Autism facilitators. You will find out more information about workshops that are suitable for parents who wish to help their own children, or if you wish to train to be a facilitator yourself, or if you're a professional and you want to learn more about these concepts and ideas and apply them to your own practice. There's also a bit more information about the programme itself, because there is a slightly shorter version that we use for very young children or non-verbal autistics. Thank you very much for listening.
Does anyone have any questions?
Could I just ask, like, how this is in line, let's say, with Crompton research in 2019 around autistic communication?
Sorry, get the microphone.
Right.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for that. I suppose I'm just wondering how this would be in line with the Crompton research around autistic communication in 2019.
The what? Sorry.
The Crompton research?
The Crompton research.
In Edinburgh, Crompton and Fletcher research that was done at Edinburgh University in 2019, which showed that autistic people have a communication that is specific to us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. The way that autistic individuals, I remember witnessing a really fascinating interaction between autistic individuals that was pretty much non-verbal, and yet the conversation just flowed between them. Something that is outside